Hey guys, and welcome to Tabby Talks, where we chat all things fitness, business, lifestyle, and a little bit of shit. So, when I originally started this podcast, I was going down the avenue of people wanting me to do more so like fitness related stuff when it came to training and nutrition. And I'm like, fucking boring. No one wants to sit here and just listen to episodes of training and nutrition the whole time. So, a big thing with me has been my own business. I obviously don't do any business coaching myself. It's not something I want to dive into, but I am helping other people with it too. So I thought, why not get the experts in? And although we haven't officially met until today, I've heard amazing things about you. So without further ado, Rhys Livingstone, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here back in Pivotal Conversations, a lovely studio. But yeah, thank you for having me on.
No worries. Like I said, I know we haven't officially met, but I've heard people speak extremely highly of you and obviously what you do in the business field. And we'll get the audience, we'll obviously chat to get the audience a little bit of an understanding of exactly what you do. But to sort of get started, do you want to give a brief overview on what you're currently working on and what would, if you were meeting someone for the first time, you'd say, hey, I'm Rhys and this is what I do?
Generally, I would open with something along the lines of, hey, I'm Rhys, and if you don't know who I am, I built a gym that no one can use, spent close to 800 grand in setting it up, and I don't monetize the whole place because I don't need to. That's kind of my thing.
To be honest, when I was looking at your Instagram profile, that was like the first thing that I saw, and I'm like, I need to ask why, but also I think it's kind of sick. Like, I feel like that's something that I would do if I was to have a gym. I'm like, no one else is coming here. This is like for mine to use.
Yeah.
But do you feel like it's a way, like, was that any aspect of you doing that a way to monetize or?
No, for me, it was I guess if I go into this and say it like it is, not only was I the first in the country to do it, but I was also the only person so far to do it to the extent that I have. I think like the boutique gym style things has come up more frequently now where people are making more privatized facilities, but they are side gig monetized, whether it be like through a podcast on the side or a recovery studio, or they haven't put in like prime and Watson equipment. So for me to do it, it was not ever to do it monetized. I don't think I would do it the way I did.
Right.
I wouldn't spend what I spent if I was going to go, all right, I want to create a gym that was like a little bit of a side gig, or there's really no reason for me to have put in all the equipment that I did and go to the degree that I did with the aesthetic. If I was ever going to choose the monetization route.
Is it a place, do you train there? Is that like the only place you'll train?
Yeah. It's so strange because like prior to building it, I was very happy to train wherever. Whereas now if I step foot in another gym, I get mad gym anxiety where it's like, wow, there's people here. It's very strange. So no, the entire thought process in the beginning was I want a facility that my staff can use, my friends can use, and yeah, I can pretty much say no to anyone at the door.
I like that. It's very exclusive. So it's your life. You do what you want with it as well. So people would probably be sitting there. You probably got so much hate for it as well. But
I got a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Probably got a bunch of hate behind closed doors, but not many people said anything. I didn't really get anything front facing. I got a lot of like curiosity, like what's going on here.
Yeah, no, I think it's sick.
And as far as like, as a company, like my original company, Lionstone, we're not very loud. Like people look at us and go, oh, it's probably just a normal coaching company. Probably not too much knowledge around like how big the company actually is and how well we service clients and the degree of which we do so. So when I came out and said, cool, I'm building this gym that no one can use, it was a little bit of a, what do you mean? Like how? And so I got a lot of confusion, whether it be from family, whether it be from friends or people in the outer circle. It was very just foreign.
But forgive me if I'm wrong, when you initially got into the industry, it was you coaching people for training and nutrition, is that correct?
Correct, yeah. I started in a Good Life, one-on-one in a gym.
How long ago was that?
2012.
Yeah, wow. So you were coaching in person. And then did you move on to that online field sort of like as of COVID? Was that sort of the transition?
We were lucky. I was lucky at that time. I'd already had two staff,
Before COVID hit. Okay, wow.
And I was in a position where the whole company had already been online for maybe 12 months prior.
Okay.
So kind of early adopters into the online world, I would say, whether it be, an opportunity that we just seized or whether it was luck, I don't know, I don't really care. We moved there early. So when COVID happened, we were pretty set.
I think at the end of the day, like people can say luck comes and goes, but it's also like you have to work hard for it to actually
Yeah,
happen.
for it to present itself. But like, I also am not so solipsistic or narcissistic to go, I controlled all of that. It just kind of happened. Like,
exactly.
COVID, we had no control, but like, talk about luck. We were in a position that at the time, we had early adopted into that world, and we had a lot of trust with our audience at that time.
Yeah.
So we pretty much was like, it was very, very divine intervention, call it, where a few clients were cancelling for valid reasons, like they had no money and they couldn't afford anything. So I made a decision on the spot to say, okay, we're going to pause every single client's payment for a 4-week total.
Yep.
And when we did that, it just worked out perfect timing that 3-4 weeks later, we got the whole government grant rollout.
Right.
And it was only granted to those that had a percentage of income that was reduced.
Yes.
We had 100% reduction.
Okay.
Because I'd paused every client for that period of time, just on goodwill.
Yeah.
Hey, we understand times are hard. We had a pretty good safety net of all of my expenses at the time were fixed. My staff were on salaries.
Fall back on, I guess.
So we had a decent safety net. Put in the goodwill with the clients to say, hey, we're not charging you a single dollar for the next 4 weeks. What came from that though was ridiculous social sharing, ridiculous amounts of like social proof, because all of our clients were like very thankful for what we did.
Yeah, for sure.
They were sharing, their progress, their steps, all of their, inputs for their health at that time. So we were getting maybe 120 tags in a story a day.
Yeah, wow.
So at that point, it's like when everyone had some extra money to spend, they were home alone and bored, getting more fat, more unfit, we were very present.
Yeah.
And so the company just hit this huge vertical.
Okay, wow. And now coming into today, are you still coaching people with training in your nutrition, or is it more so the business side of things, business coaching?
I haven't touched a single training nutrition client in nearly 2 years. I've not had a single hand on it.
What about the employees under you?
Yeah, they all do the coaching, nutrition stuff.
Yeah.
So we've got a really good team that are amazing what they do. And we've now got a full C-suite. So my involvement in that company is very minimal. The managing and I guess the top level of management kind of just trickle down into all the coaches that need to do the work they do. And yeah, they service all the clients as using all the methods and systems that I created over the 6-7 years that I did it. They're just replicating that process.
Yeah, right. And to the people that are listening as well, like Rhys doesn't just help people in the span of like increasing their fitness business, for example, and helping online coaches. I think I saw something that said 60% of your clientele is not actually like online coaches, right?
Yeah. So it's all like 100% of it is service based. I don't deal with product at all. I owned a product company. I would never do it again. Sold that thankfully, and would never touch a single product in my life, no matter how good it is. Service is my jam. It's fun. But yeah, 60% of it is not fitness. So it could be like a lot of my clients are in the beauty world, allied health, cosmetic injectables, and obviously then fitness as well.
Yeah. And so let's talk about some of the results that you have currently seen. Chat about some of your highest selling kind of clients. What have they achieved?
So probably the highest level is I've got a client that is top line rev is like 12 mil. So they're doing extremely well. They're in the, development industry, whether it be, so it's like web and tech.
Yeah.
A more normal example, I've got a few, like this month, I've got a few clients accepting $1 million awards. So they've just broken past the 7-figure mark in their business. Those 3 are in fitness. So, but spanning from, whether it be just making their first $250,000 all the way up to, their first 500 is where I do a lot of my work.
Yeah.
I don't work with any businesses at the moment that are, sub that 100, 150 mark.
Yeah.
And if you are listening and you are in that sub 6-figure range, might be aggressive, it might be abrasive, but you don't need a mentor. Like you just need to go work more, go
harder.
do more things. It's not about learning new things. It's about being reminded of what you already know.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you as well. Like seeing people that are in that $100,000 range at the moment, scaling from that 100K range to like that 500K range, what do you feel like the biggest difference is? Do you feel like it's a work ethic thing, or do you think it's systems and processes?
So a bit of both.
Okay.
I think the 100 to 250 mark is largely work ethic, and maybe not so much just work ethic as in doing more. I think a large portion of it does come from doing more. Yep. And that's not sexy. It doesn't often feel good to hear for a business owner coming in that goes, hey, I want to grow, and like I look at their business and their output is minimal.
Yeah.
A lot of the answers in that early phase from 100 to 200 is, you have to do more. You like what I often say is move fast, break shit, fix later. So we need to get to a place in that, 100 to 200 range where you have broken your systems rather than starting at 100K like, hey, I need to systemize everything. I need automation. I need to streamline my whole process, and operations need to be like, really well looked after. If you do that first, you don't know what you're building.
Yeah, true.
So what I would say to most people is in that phase of 100 to 200, it's work ethic, but be very clear on what you're doing that's taking a lot of time, and then create systems around that. That will very quickly take you up to that 250. The difference from 250 to 500, my experience is, if we use fitness as the example, it's manpower. You need staff. You need help.
Yeah.
Whether that be like front-facing coaches or virtual assistants on the back end, or even simply just having someone take the bookkeeping out of your hands.
Well, a question I got asked, which we obviously will go into some more like listener Q&As a little bit later, is someone was running their business and they're hiring a coach to work under them, but they're struggling with the fact that people are coming to them being like, well, I wanted to work with you, but this person's trying to scale their business. And they're like, well, I can't obviously take more people on. How do you deal with, it's very easy for me to be like, how do you deal with that? But yeah, what is someone going to do if they're like, I want a specific coach, but I'm being put down to one of their employees?
So that's I guess in the business world, a term coined as like key man risk. So when you are the person, or key woman risk, whatever it may be, where you are the person that is responsible for the deliverable, and you've been the front-facing brand entity and holding all that brand equity, where everyone says, I have this personal buy-in to you and your story and who you are. Easiest way to fix this is to either you have two roads to choose. Do you want to hire a coach that's front-facing and taking brand equity that you then have to train up? And that's arguably a really hard, in my opinion, a harder process.
Yeah.
Because you have to train them up, get them social media ready, get them in front of a camera. Because if you want to start selling and splitting the story off you as a person, you need to put this other person in a position of leverage where you're giving them the layup. It's like, this person is someone I trust. They are a part of the brand.
To create trust with them.
Yeah, and like people by people.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of time, right? Unless you're getting that, very unique hire that's excellent in front of camera straight away.
Yeah.
But often when you look at that, if they had all of those traits, they'd probably go do it themselves.
Their own business, exactly. Someone's working with you for a reason.
And then there's the other risk of, if you teach them everything, you become a stepping stone where they learn all the things about sales, marketing, branding, social media presence, and so on. They go, I think I'm confident enough to go do this on my own, and don't realize how hard running a business actually is. So you've got two roads. You go that road where they become an entity holder of the brand, and you have to really start to push them in front of the people. If you do that, the only option to make sure people feel like, they want to go down to this other person instead of be with you is you have to outprice them. So sure, I can work with you, but it's an extra $400 a month as opposed to, working with this person that is, let's say, $400 a month for person A, or if you want me, it's $800 a month.
Okay, well, what was the avenue you went down then when you initially started your business?
We did that road.
Yeah.
We did that road. It was a road I wouldn't willingly do that road again. There is especially now, there's a lot of risk in like getting someone in front of the brand, especially like we have now as a brand, we have a pretty good brand equity where people come to us for a certain reason. We service their needs in a certain way. And now for me to bring someone new into that and put them in front of the brand, it's a risk.
Because you know what as well, like no one treats your business the same as you. They never will, not in any field.
And I wouldn't expect them to.
Yeah, me either.
Like that, and like it's it's something that when I've talked to my clients, it's like, you can't expect your staff to have the same care factor as you.
Yeah,
you can buy loyalty, you can pay really, really well, but at some point, like you're not going to meet all of their needs.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and that's fine. But we did that road initially where I would bring people in, and over the years we've had some great stuff. We've had some questionable ones, and it's lessons learned.
It's kind of a learning curve.
Yeah.
So chatting about obviously you, like let's go right back to you first getting into the field when you were working in person PT. What was the kind of the pivotal moment where you were like, yep, this is what I want to do and this is where I want to go with it? Or was it something where it just gradually came over time?
I think that this is probably an answer that not many people will give. I think it's what a lot of people think, but I don't think many people are honest on it. I just like the money.
Okay.
Like I wasn't especially passionate about coaching. I think I grew into coaching. I was like, oh, this is fun. And I got really good at it.
Yeah.
At one point, like when I was like front facing as a coach, like there was a point in time where I was the guy that people would come to for, improving their hormones, looking at their bloods. And like, that was my little wheelhouse. And for a period of time, I was very good at it. But that was a passion that grew in the interim, in the infancy of running the business. I was a kid that never finished school and I needed something to do. So it was the fitness course was the only thing available. Did it, accepted it, got into a workplace at Good Life and had a point to prove. Like I had people in the gym that were like, gym lifetime retention of a PT back then was horrible.
Oh, I'm pretty sure when I got into the industry, it was like the average PT lifespan is a year.
Yeah, well, we were probably seeing a churn rate of every 3 months, maybe 5 or 6 new people.
Jesus, yeah.
And it was, at one point, like when I was in that Good Life, there was probably maybe 20, 25 PTs in a pretty small gym.
Yeah.
So, but they would never last. So it became, I can say this in retrospect, I don't think I was very conscious of the time. It just became a game of like, I want to outlast that person.
Yeah.
So, there was a couple people that started at the same time as me and, 6 months later, one of them was gone. So it's like, okay, cool. I've just got to outlast this next guy.
Yeah. It's like having that competitive edge almost.
Yeah. And I'm a competitive motherfucker.
I think anyone who's successful in business almost has a competitive edge to them. And it's exactly what you said. Like me, I do love what I do. I love coaching girls. I have a very specific niche. I love it. But at the end of the day too, of course, I'm chasing money. That's the only thing that keeps me going. Do you think I can be fucked sometimes working on a Sunday at like 10 p.m. at night?
No.
I don't love it that much. Like, of course I do, but I'm doing it because I want to continue scaling.
Yeah, I think it's the difference between necessity and preference, right? Like I would prefer, like I pull some crazy weeks still. Like I may not have any involvement in Lionstone, but what I'm building at the moment in the mentoring space and all of that, like I'll still pull maybe 80-hour weeks. Like,
yeah.
And I don't do that because I love the grind. It's like, no, I would prefer to sit at home with my partner and my dog on the couch and do nothing.
100%.
But it's like preference doesn't come into it.
No.
It's like, this is a necessity for me. If I want the life that I want in 5 years, that has a monetary value to it, which means I need to work with X amount of people. I need to generate this much revenue. I need to pay this much tax. And then I have this life.
Yeah, exactly. But do you feel like hard work and work ethic is something that it comes natural, or do you think it's something that someone builds?
I think it can be both. For me, it came natural.
Yeah.
For me, it was a very much so at like 21, 22, I got diagnosed, actually medically diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD. Now that as a combination just means, sure, I misspell nearly everything, but it also means I have the ability to hyperfixate and see patterns that other people don't. And for me, that just meant I can work better, I can work more fast, and I can work more efficiently and get more out of the time. So like, it's funny, like if Pat comes in of a nighttime, he'll see me and I've got like Viking music playing. It's like full war music. Yeah. There's a projector going with one video going. I've got headphones in with another, and I can take in both sets of information.
Yeah.
Like my information retention's stupid.
Yeah. Like, don't take something in as that it's a weakness of yours. Like, find the advantage in it and like use it as a strength.
But I think like in my case, sure, it came natural, but I think given the right circumstances, anyone can have the work ethic that's required of them. Like if you right now feel like you just don't work hard enough, it's like you're not struggling enough.
Oh,
like
you know
you're
what?
comfortable
like,
enough.
Yeah, you'll never be able to beat hard work. But you know what? There generally is people, and there's probably people listening to this that are like, you know what? I don't really care to do much more. I'm just happy with how I am, and that's complacency. But
I disagree. I don't even think it's complacency. It's just they've accepted it, and that's fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Like if you don't work a lot and you're also happy with your lifestyle, that's sweet. But if you don't work a lot and then complain that you don't have a lot, like fuck off.
Yeah, no, I'm all for you on that. So when you were getting into the space as well, I'm sure like people probably listening like, fuck, this sounds like it's been just such a smooth sailing ride for him. Hit me with like setbacks that happened on the way up to where you are now. I'm pretty sure you're probably even going through setbacks now. Like it's always going to happen.
Always. I guess most notable ones. First time I actually had to figure out what tax was. That was scary.
Oh my God.
I bought.
What year did you finish school?
2012.
And not that they even like told us in school what tax was, but
so I was illiterate. Even if they had taught me, I wouldn't have known. Like school was not me.
Yeah.
I was spent 80% of my time at school in an art room and a music room. Like
Yeah,
I
wow.
was in the creative world.
Yeah.
I was not in the academic world at all.
Yeah.
Most notably, the lesson of tax, it bit me hard. In the space of 12 months, I had purchased 2 cars and thought all the money was mine that was in my account.
Okay.
So I had spent a shit ton of money on 2 cars. I had spent a boatload of money on I had a bit of a shoe obsession.
Yeah.
So I was buying Jordans every other week and came to tax time like, oh, you have an $85,000 bill that I had none of because I'd pretty well drained my account.
Yeah.
So that was a big, holy shit, like I need to figure out how to pay all this back. And then that was like a big eye opener to like, I am not the guy that needs to manage the money in the business. I need to get someone that's good at that.
Yeah. Did you get an accountant sort of like straight away?
Yeah, I got an accountant then, but I think from that moment, once I realized like, okay, there's this payment plan with the tax agents, I need to get this sorted. My only goal that once that's sorted, I need to get someone internal to the company. Like this was probably my first idea of like, I need actual staff.
Yeah.
Not just an accountant that I can outsource to, but I need someone to.
How many years in was this?
So that first tax bill probably came in at like maybe year 2.
Okay.
Where like first year I was working personal training, I was not good. I didn't make it. I made fuck all money.
Okay, yeah.
Second year things just kind of went pretty wild. And I was trading a lot of time for a fair amount of money for a 19, 20-year-old kid. From there though, it was like okay, tax bill came in, holy shit moment. Get the accountant to try and fix it all up.
Yeah.
But then that probably took maybe 12 to 18 months to get that all sorted on.
Yeah. Because then the next tax bill comes around too.
Exactly. So we had to over provision for that. But it was from there, it was like one of my best mates, the business partner of mine that I own the apparel company with, he was a chartered accountant. And I had a bit of a conversation with him. It was like, hey, do you just want to do accounting like for life, or do you like see yourself kind of going up that road?
Yeah.
Off that conversation, we kind of came up with a plan of like how I could get him into the company as a CFO over the next 1 to 2 years. We did that. So he came in as a full-time CFO for the company. So he's the chief financial officer. He takes care of all the money, and I don't have any logins to any account. I don't have to look at anything. And as that kind of happened, that was all good. But then, like with any business, like, it's definitely not smooth sailing from there. So I think probably one of the other big notable fails or fuck-ups was in the space of a week, we lost nearly 300K in recurring revenue.
Are you kidding?
Just because, and this was when I was still coaching, I had tapped out from a passion perspective.
Yeah.
I'd pretty much signed on way too many clients that I could even think to handle. And I was still not in a position where I really wanted to trust the staff that I had. They were good coaches, but I still had this like mindset where I was the person that needed to do the work.
Yeah.
And I just became a really bad coach. There's no other way to put it. So I wasn't putting deliverables in. I wasn't, doing replies. I was missing schedules.
Do you think you were just burnt out?
Probably burnt out. I think burnt out comes from a work ethic. I just wasn't doing enough. Like I was focusing on other things. I wasn't passionate on that thing anymore. And I was I probably became too focused on the cash, where it was like, cool, I could see the account going up, but I forgot about service.
Service, yeah.
So in the space of a week, we lost, 30, 40 clients of just cancellations that were valid.
Oh, okay. Wow.
That should have canceled because I just wasn't delivering on what they needed to.
Yeah.
So big wake up call there. Like, okay, cool. I need to trust my staff more. And then probably just repeat fail is like staff in general, like having not over delivered and over promised in early days and overpaid. Generally, when you start on a really good salary as a job, at some point you want ascension. It's only natural.
So were all your employees, they weren't subcontractors?
No.
They were employed under you? Okay, right.
Yeah. Subcontractor model is a risky model. There's a lot of risk that comes with it. Just from a legal perspective in the Australian law now, contract law is iffy. So it's something that I try and avoid pretty quickly.
Yeah, right.
Learned that lesson pretty hard.
And why is that?
So if someone is a contractor that is, if you're responsible for more than 80% of their income, you pretty much owe them tax, super, all the stuff backdated. Because most of the time when people do a contract, they don't necessarily have that tax and super buffer.
Yeah.
So that at any point you could be backdated into this point of as soon as you are responsible for more than 80% of their income, it's you could owe a shit ton on their tax and super.
So when you first started your business, and I know I get so many questions on this as well, it's did you start and develop as a company or sole trader?
I was a sole trader. It's advantageous to become a company when you start into it, when you enter into a tax threshold where it makes sense. So companies are taxed at a flat rate of 25%, and you've got your 10% GST up until a pretty high threshold. At that point, it makes sense to be a company. So if you're earning more than 150 grand, I would say, yeah, company makes sense. For the cost of it set up, it's not much. Staying as a sole trader below that makes pretty good sense because you're getting taxed on a dollar per, the dollar value is less on that threshold. When you start making good money, definitely become a company.
So when was the point where you felt cool, I've clearly got a good business going. I think I'm in a position, because I know you're very big on yes, there's the theory side, but like I agree, personal experience I think is everything. Even when it comes to like physique development, I'm like, I think your coach needs to kind of go through it themselves in order to help people.
For a comp, you need to have done it for sure.
100%. But where did you feel like, yeah, I think I'm willing to onboard people to help with their business? Or was it people coming to you first being like, hey, do you do this?
Probably a bit of both. So I got the natural progression of once people started to notice that we were doing pretty good, people were coming to me to ask for help. I'd been dabbling in the mentoring space, like I call it casually as like a little side thing for a while. But where I felt like I finally had the permission to do it properly and officially is once we shifted over our first 7 figures. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. And that was kind of my permission to go, I can teach people.
And were you someone that was pretty open when it came to your finances?
I'm open to if asked, but it's not something that something I kind of like, personal brand for me. I'm the guy that's direct. I'm the guy that like will help with the solution. I'm not the guy that's going to sit there and screenshot accounts and go, hey, look what I've bought.
Yeah.
But if anyone ever asks, like I'm more than open to talk about it. Because
people are obviously going to come to you because they see a valid reason as to what you've scaled. So what was it that you were showing?
Well, it's funny. For a very long time, I was even very avoidant of even showing like my clients' wins. It's only been in the last 3 months that I've actually promoted that I've made this business 500 grand or I've made this business $1 million. Like,
oh, right. Okay.
Like I think it was maybe 4 months ago. Yeah. I posted my first video of like with a client being like, hey, this is what they made.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So for a very long time, I was like avoidant of even sharing the wins of other people's work. Largely because I think the mentoring space is a pretty toxic one. And and rightfully so, like a lot of people are pretty apprehensive of people that call themselves mentors.
Yeah, so it's a tough one.
Yeah, because like so many people, like they fake it. It's very easy to tell people, like, and I know so many people that have failed as a business, never really made any money, but give advice on how to make money.
Yeah.
And like you can really pick it. Like these days, like if you look around the industry, if all they're talking about is mindset, if all they're talking about is like, feel better in your business, often speaking, they haven't actually made a business.
Honestly, the industry is flooded, whether it's business coaches. Someone just starts obviously an online coaching business, gets 20 clients and they're like, yeah, I'm going to be a business coach as well, or a mindset coach. And I think it's so flooded. It was actually something that popped up on one of the questions. It was like, what's your opinion on people just entering the industry with with nothing to back them up? And it's kind of one of those things where for me, I don't really care how many coaches there are in the industry. It's not something that threatens me. I'm like, I do what I need to do. I've got my systems, I've got my processes, I've got a good clientele, like I'm chill. It's not something that I feel like is a threatening thing. People will eventually fill out, but is it something that you're like, it's just frustrating for you when you see just another one pop out?
No, not really, because it makes me look better.
I agree.
And that's why for a long time I was very avoidant of like calling myself a mentor and going into that road. And it's only been for 4 months maybe where I've really like, this is my thing. Since taking a big step back from Lionstone where I don't have any contact really with the staff or the managers. The managers report in at the end of the month. But since doing that, that's more of a conversation where I've gone, okay, cool, I can put my time into this. And that can just be a thing now that generates passive income, or not passive for me at least. Obviously the team have to work.
That team, are they working with people on health and fitness?
Yeah.
Okay, so you directly do the business?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So I do all the business mentoring with the help of my 2IC, Pat. He does a lot of the sales stuff.
Yeah.
So he will educate the clients because Pat's got a record of, I think it's like over 400 sales calls in the last year.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And he's got an 82% rolling average of conversion. So like I've taught him well. He knows what he's doing. So he does all the sales feedback for the team. But he, like any of mentoring clients come in, if they've got consultations, I just get them to record them. They go to Pat. He'll give them feedback on you could have said this better, done this more, etc. But as far as the strategy and all the week-to-week stuff, that's me.
So do you want to get to a position where the business mentoring as well, like you've stepped away from?
I think it's harder to do so. I don't really have the desire to do that either. I'm still super passionate about business.
Yeah.
And I don't see that changing for a while. I think also like if I was to then bring other people into that, it dilutes what I offer for the moment being. So my vertical from like right now, like if we look at business mentoring as a whole, if I'm doing that as for example, a one-to-one capacity where I meet with someone on a fortnightly basis, that's how I structure it.
Yeah.
I only have so much time in a week, right?
Yeah.
So at some point that reach a bottleneck. And the vertical from there is either bring in more staff to then mentor at the same capacity, harder road for me because one, I have to relinquish up brand equity as well.
Yeah.
And then I also have to train them up to use all the systems and processes. And they also have to have some sort of proof that they have built a business on their own.
Yeah.
So I would really only be able to hire current clients in that let's say they've reached a 7-figure run. I could potentially employ them to teach to people that are, 250 grand or below.
Yeah.
Like I can guarantee that they know the skill sets in that realm.
And you sort of do have to put so much trust into these people as well because, well, they could leave you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like, I don't see myself doing that. The vertical that we'll go down is, and what we're launching at the moment is a course where it's more self-led.
Yeah.
And there'll be live like Q&As and live sales trainings in there every week. But it's, for example, 2 hours of my time per week in there versus, 12 hours a week. On a one-to-many, business-to-business, super scalable.
Yeah, it's one of those things you're going to have to put in heaps of hours right now so that it works out in the end.
This has been a 9-month process and it's coming to an end. Hopefully, like we're planning a launch November.
Yeah. So is it going to be like a curriculum? People kind of like sign up, they pay one fee, and then how's it going to be structured?
Interesting. So pricing, something like, there's actually a whole module of pricing, but one of my preferred pricing model is where you take a percentage up front that covers and potentially liquidates any cost of acquisition.
Yeah.
And then has a reoccurring revenue on the back end of that. So that then you have this huge value discrepancy where they pay an amount to get access and they have this overwhelming experience of, wow, there's so much.
Yeah.
And then they have this low payment per month in comparison so that they feel like this payment per month is cheap.
Keeps it up.
And they stay and pay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we're going to be doing like a hybrid model. That's what we did in Lionstone.
Yeah.
That's what really scaled us to where we are with Lionstone. Our pricing model with Lionstone is we do $750 up front, covers the first 30 days, and then that pushes into $125 a week on week 5 with a 16-week minimum. So we can justify that to the client because in the first 4 weeks, there is more touch points, there's more education, we need to get you up to skilled, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then it feels really cheap. Like in our market, like being real, $125 a week is expensive.
Yeah.
Right. Like the market of people that the company services, it's an expensive product. However, when they've paid $750 on the front end, that $125 feels cheap.
Yeah.
So they stay and pay for a longer period of time. And it actually makes them feel like it matches the perceived value proposition. So in coaching, you look at this from a perspective of like, let's say you've got a client for 6 months. You actually become less valuable the longer they spend with you because they feel like they've gotten more from you.
Yeah.
And like in theory, if you've done your job well, they should feel comfortable to go do it on their own.
Well, I always say that as well. When clients come to me, like, I'm not your fucking mother. Like, my job is for you to be able to leave me one day with knowing that you're not going to revert back to how you were.
So that's like, we used to say that in our sales consultations. Feels really good and authentic to say, but it's a horrible business model.
Yeah.
Like you never, like if you look at this objectively from business, setting people up to eventually leave is a bad call, right? So in a normal coaching model, whether it be business or whether it be, coaching and fitness, the longer someone spends with you, the better you've done, the more likely they are to leave.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Normally.
Yeah.
So that comes with one, their value proposition is they pay, let's say, even simple numbers, $100 a week for in perpetuity forever. The $100 they pay at week 30 feels so much more of a like, hang on, I'm not getting as much out of this anymore.
Yeah.
So, and that's why you get people that week 30, week 32, that's like average industry LTV.
Yep.
They leave and they go, I'm going to either go find someone new because they want something shiny, something new, something fun.
Fair.
Right? Or they feel like you've done a good enough job so I can go do this on my own.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a front-facing fee, it actually matches their proposition where it's like, I've paid more to you when you're more valuable to me. And then over time, I've paid, an amount that is now stable, but it's less than what I paid at the start.
Yes.
And then we also do, like, we have a drop down again at week 32 because we make it make sense for their value proposition that like at this point, you're more self-sustainable, so you don't have to pay us as much.
Yeah.
So that's how we've managed to keep an LTV. It's like always rolling average over 40 weeks.
Yep. Client retention is going to be like your number one moneymaker.
Yeah. Client retention, I think like I'm a big number guy. So client retention is a really nice metric to look at. It's super tantalizing, super positive.
Yep.
One metric, if like the listeners at home want to, really have a good understanding of their business, is knowing their attrition rate. That's the opposite end of that same math.
Okay.
Let's say you retain a client for 30 weeks. It's like, and really often when I say to a new client in business, I go, how often, like, what's your retention? Or like, what's your attrition rate is what I would normally ask them rather. And they'll say, oh yeah, my retention's awesome. I keep clients for I've got clients that have been with me for 2 years. I'm like, not what I asked.
Yeah.
The percentage of people that leave every month, what is it? Because when you start to look at, let's say you have 100 clients at the start of the month and you have a 20% attrition, of those 100, that means you now have 80 of them left at the end of the month. And a 20% attrition rolling out over a whole year, if you can simply half that down to 10%, you increase your profit margin by 50%.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a big fucking lever.
100%.
Rather than being focused on, hey, I keep clients to week 40, or I have a client for 2 years, they're outliers. If you look at any data, people always remove outliers.
Yeah. What's the average?
In the last 12 months, what's the average percentage of people that have left? And, spoiler alert, if it's anything above 15%, you're in trouble.
And do you think like when you're having a client leave you, it should be one of those things where you go through a process to find out why?
100%. You should try and save them first. So most people in coaching, fitness is a really like lazy industry because people just do things because it's funny. It's an industry led by like copycats where like they will see an influencer does ABC or an influencer did this post, so I'm going to do that post, but they don't really understand the why.
Yeah.
And often in like high volume businesses, like for an example, an influencer based business, they can afford to just let people leave because they've got the inbound that flows it.
People coming back in.
Yeah. So if we're going to treat it like a business that, actually functions, we want to put in barriers to exit and reduce barriers to entry. So those barriers to exit, if someone has a cancellation, there needs to be a process of look at a gym. You have to go in, sign a paper.
Yeah.
They don't do that just to be annoying. They do that to give you an opportunity to downsell, to offer something new, to whatever it might be.
Yes. So the new course that you have coming out, is that going to be a retention-based thing, or is it going to be sort of just a one-off 8-week, 10-week course?
No, so it'll be retention.
Okay.
We're going to be charging an upfront fee into a reoccurring model for a 12-month minimum.
So does that mean that you will need to continuously be putting out content too?
There's about 350 modules in there currently.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's big.
So you've been able to do that all in the past 9 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
So it's pretty much a cover from A to Z of like, whether it be pricing, whether it be retention strategies for your own business, whether it be hiring and firing, marketing and sales, like there is
something for everything.
Yeah.
For
And
everyone.
then they get a customized curriculum on the way in.
Yep.
So pretty much answering a form, that form has logic based on where they are in business. So if you struggle with sales and lead flow, start here in the course and then do these modules. Whereas if you struggle with like social media and content creation, start here.
Right.
So it's a customized experience for the individual's problem.
Yeah, it's not like you're just signing up and it's a one-size-fits-all approach. Because some people are going to be signing up who are making 200K. Some people are going to be making 600K.
And there's going to be, it's industry diverse as well. And that's been the hardest part.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Because like being that right now, 60% of my market isn't fitness.
Yeah.
All of the business stuff in there can't just be like how to become a flourishing coach.
Yeah.
It needs to be like, how do you become a better business in service? So it's got to be like
the back end stuff almost.
It's like, it's just understanding like, for example, all the math in business of like how to do your attrition rate, how to improve it, how to, increase your retention rate, but also how to improve like referral rate. Like what's a net negative churn? So that's a term that most people don't even know what that is. But, I teach them in that to go through tracking your like referral percentage, minus that off your attrition percentage. So this is the net amount of people you lose per month or gain. Good, bad, otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a part of you that's like, fuck, what if something happens? Like you feel like there could be something that could go wrong, or are you someone who just backs yourself?
Oh, everything will go wrong. We'll just fix it after.
Yeah.
Like move fast, break shit. It's like my big motto. Motto is just like what will be, will be.
Oh, honestly, like if failure like gets you down, like good luck. Good luck in the space.
Yeah, I've failed enough. Like I've got enough proof to say that I can do it again and it'll be fine.
I think that's a good thing, and exactly why people would continue coming to you as well. It's confidence too. It's people respect you and they trust you, what you have to say. So inevitably they're going to want to work with you in that field too.
I'm also, and quote unquote lucky in that I have built a pretty good safety net in that if shit hit fans massively, I have this crazy cool facility that I could open the doors on tomorrow and make more than most people make in an online world.
Yeah.
So like most people see this gym that I made as an expense, but if anything went so horrible where like, I don't know, I had all my staff quit tomorrow, we lost all of our clients, like, okay, cool. We have a fob access already on the gym. We've already got cards sitting there just because I want friends to be able to come.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We've got 100 memberships on offer. Let's go.
Yeah. Wow. So do your employees work at the gym, or is it
Flexi? So
yeah. You got offices?
Yeah. So we've got a big open space office upstairs. Like it's an open plan office, like my office, and then there's like a bunch of other desks in there as well. We've got a podcast studio in there too that doubles as a second office that kind of just ends up being Pat's little sales cave.
Nice.
But no, the staff are pretty far spread. So we've only got 3 here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And the the vast majority of the time it's just largely Pat and I in the office. As long as the work gets done, I don't care where they are.
Do you feel like you're more like Australian based, or do you work with international clients?
No, we've got a pretty widespread. So we've got, I'm going to take a stab at this, but we've probably got clients in maybe 8 or 9 countries.
Yeah.
So large majority in New Zealand, large in UK and US, and then we've got a few like spread out in between very strange countries that I didn't know existed.
What was the appeal in you getting international clients? Was it you traveling and reaching
It's
out?
just content.
Just content.
It's all organic. So we've never done any successful paid marketing. We've done some paid marketing in the past where we spent maybe 35 grand and we didn't even get ads live.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting learning curve. But no, we've never done any paid acquisition successfully. So it's all just organic content that's gotten in front of the right people.
And what's your thoughts on like cold outreach?
Necessary
Actually, I think you posted this.
Not necessary, useful. Has high utility, low leverage. Like it requires a lot of input.
Yeah.
But if you're a business that has north of 10,000 followers, really great opportunity.
Okay.
Because like if you have low follower count, you're going to run out of people to message pretty quickly. You're going to lose and burn trust with a lot of people if you're, especially let's say you're outsourcing that appointment setting process. You're going to have to train that person up. They have to do a lot of like learning people skills and how to pitch and all that kind of stuff. And you don't necessarily have the leads to burn when you have a lower like following capacity.
True.
When you're in a higher like percentage of that market, outbound messaging is fucking awesome. Like if you get someone that's good at it. Like,
so yeah, you would suggest having someone else take on board to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a recruiter that works for me that like for any of my clients that need an outbound person or whether they need a salesperson, I've just got a recruiter that's on retainer that I'll message him and go, hey, we need to find an appointment setter that's got 3 years of experience in fitness.
Yeah.
Like go find them. And he'll bring me back a short list. I'll send it over to the client and go, hey, pick who you want. We'll do some interviews.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I think low leverage tasks in most cases should be outsourced to someone that isn't the business owner.
Well, that's another thing as well. Like something I learned initially, I was kind of the same in the same boat as you with like when it came to tax, and I was like, I just am terrible at this. I'm going to get a bookkeeper that does absolutely everything for me, and I still do that now, so I don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, I don't even have logins to my account. I don't touch the fucking company. I don't want to know.
Yeah, well, you can be that extreme, guys, or you could just have an accountant. But
Yeah.
I personally believe that I'm going to outsource everything that's not got to do with what I actually do for a job. But someone that is sort of like new into the industry too, they do have to kind of be a jack of all trades and
100%.
put their finger in everything.
Yeah, people want to scale faster than they actually can afford to. Whether it be a spending issue, whether it be a flexing issue, they want to be perceived to be busier and better than they are.
Yeah.
It's something that it's probably become a bit of a coined term of mine that I think actually was first said in this room with Kyle, that was inefficiency is a luxury. And in the infancy of a business, you don't have any other choice other than to be inefficient. Like you have to do the marketing, you have to do the media, you have to do the editing, you have to do the outreach, all of that. But why I say that's a luxury is because as you scale, you don't have time to do that shit anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Which means you now need to pay for it to be done. And for example, like I have almost no time to do low leverage tasks, which means someone with a smaller business has the opportunity to outwork me in that arena. So they could, I don't personally have time to do any outreach.
Yeah.
So someone else, though, could turn around, I have 12 hours a day to give. That's a lot more work than I would give into that task.
I have always said that. I'm like, if your business isn't growing right now, good, you've got time on your hands, so go work on yourself and go scale.
And go do the shit that no one else wants to do.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Most people just want shit easy. And that's what I said before. It's you don't need to learn new skills. Fuck this, fuck the next podcast episode, fuck the next book, fuck getting a mentor. Go do what you know you need to do.
Yeah.
It's the shit you are looking at on your to-do list that you hate, you don't want to do. It's the calls, it's the calling old clients, it's the doing I hate to say it, but a free challenge.
Yeah.
It's that if you don't have clients, people have this weird opposition to being desperate. I don't want to be perceived as desperate. It's you should be. You have no money. Get desperate.
Kind of are desperate.
Get desperate and show it. And something that I said, to a consult that I did, I often turn more clients down than I take now.
Yeah.
And in this case, it was a prime example of this person wasn't ready for a mentor. And I said to them, how many clients do you have? There was 20 clients or something in the business. I said, do you have what's the biggest struggle you have? Okay, people are leaving. And she was in a pretty niche market, of women that are, pretty, they're powerlifters. They all listen to like heavy metal music, and like she's got a very specific market, right?
Yeah.
And all of them feel somewhat alone in this fitness journey because it's such a different experience for them. Like in their world, like being the heavier girl, the stronger girl that listens to heavy metal music and probably has pink hair.
Such a specific
like going to the
target,
gym is such a weird thing for that group of people.
Yeah.
So they feel more alone. They feel more isolated. It's like, cool, do you have any sort of community in your business? No. All right, why don't we just go bare bones, basic level of community, start a WhatsApp group chat. And I would say normally that's not like an ideal place to start community. But for this case, it worked really well. But her reason for not wanting to do so was because then the clients that she does have will see how little clients she has, because you can count how many people in the group.
Right.
And I was like, why is that a bad thing? Would they not be, in your case, more likely, you're in a niche community, would they not see that as a good thing, that you've got more time to work with them, but also like they would like to support the underdog? When you ask for referrals, it actually makes sense that you need them.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing to be the underdog.
Nah, I agree with that. Word of mouth is also such a big thing too. Like that's why you got to treat every client with respect too. Like even if you're not someone you want to work with, you're not going to get along with everyone. I don't get along with everyone that I meet. I'm probably not going to get like I've had coaches before that I have gotten along with, but you got to treat people with respect, especially if you are in the fitness industry. Everyone knows each other. It's getting around. Like be careful with what you say as well.
Yeah, and like people often say the fitness industry is saturated. I don't really agree with that. I agree, but I don't see it as a bad thing. But either you service that client or someone else will. There's a million other coaches. Like,
people are coming to you for a result at the end of the day. That's literally what they're coming for. So if you can't get a result, which I do think aspects of like communication, honesty and stuff all comes into getting a client a result. But if they're not leaving with something getting out of it, well then it's not going to be good for you.
Now that's also being honest with where you're at. Like if you're not in a position to take on more clients, but you're like I did, got distracted by the cash, being honest that like, hey, maybe I'm not the best person for this job anymore, or hey, maybe I need to actually focus on the service. Like all of those clients that left and cost us, that $300K, I called every single one of them upon cancel and said, hey, I understand why you canceled. I actually want to refund you the last 2 weeks. I agree that you should have canceled before this.
Yeah, good on you.
And it's like, it's actually owning the fact that like, I was shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not the person for this anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
I think as well, like people that are getting into the industry and whether or not like you agree, it's like before thinking of scaling your business, be good at what you're doing.
Yeah, I think there's a degree of good. I think this is a spectrum or a scale. So many people just waste, and I say waste specifically, so much money on upskilling as a coach, where they go around to every course, they learn, more specifics. They like learn. They almost go into the world of endocrinology and they start trying to be like an expert in these really hyper-specific
fields.
things. Yeah. Like you don't need to be that good to make good money.
Yeah.
You just need to be good enough. Like, and I know that's a strange thought process because normally when it comes to work or work ethic in general, my whole team know this. I always say to them, if it's good enough, it's not good enough. Like do more, do better. But as a business owner, especially like, if we talk at the most common portion of this industry and fitness that are trying to grow, the biggest target that they're trying to hit is their first six-figure year.
Yes.
It's like you don't actually need to go spend a boatload of money to be that coach.
No.
You're going to be working with Gen Pop mostly that are just a little bit more overweight than they'd like to be, don't have some good habits. You just need to be good with people.
Honestly, like when I hit my first 6 figures, I was working, it was just me. I had done only my Cert 3-4 and my primary apps were just like, I'd use WhatsApp for communication and spreadsheets.
Yep.
Made my first 6 figures. Like, that's what you've got to do initially. I think get good at that. Get good, firstly, at your job and what you want to be good at, and then look at outsourcing, hiring people, getting a mentor, and hiring 100%. Other people for the job too.
But just knowing your return on investment too. Like, there's a million courses out there, and some of which are great, some of which are highly stupid. But if you're going to go spend money on a course that's like educating you to be a better coach, what is the ROI? Because it's very hard to track. You go spend $5,000 on this course. And sure, you're more smart, but unless you charge more, you're just more smart.
Yeah, I think it's like so dependent too. Like I know people that have gone and done like exercise science degrees, and they're not doing anything more different than a person with a Cert 3-4. So it's not necessarily the degree, but it's also if you are someone who wants to specialize in like female hormones, things like this, and that does want to be your niche, then okay, maybe go to like a course and
but also it's like you need cash flow to do that, right? So like people always talk that, you make a lot, you make all your money when you niche down and get hyper specific, which is true to a degree, especially when you look at like paid acquisition. Yeah. You need to speak to a very direct market to get a very direct result. That makes sense.
Do you think you should do that initially though? No. No,
definitely not. Like
Work with everyone.
work with anyone and everyone, get cash flow. Cash flow's king. Just get enough cash flow in the business so you can take that weight off your shoulders, that you can breathe.
Yeah.
Like
I
financial
agree.
stress, I've had a lot of stresses in my life where, I've been diagnosed with like clinical anxiety. I was a mess of a human. I was unorganized. I was depressed. I've been through that. None of it compares to severe financial stress where you like don't know whether you're going to be able to pay your staff or keep the lights on. Like,
No matter what anyone says, finance is always going to be the backbone. Always is. And anyone's avenue. Like
it
whether or
just
not.
feels the most real.
Yeah.
It just feels like it has the highest gravity. It has the highest risk factor.
Yeah.
And it's the
It's
hardest
not to say
thing
like money buys happiness, but money's going to be your backbone and something
Yeah.
you're going to have to rely on.
Yeah, I think money buys a degree of happiness. I think money buys freedom. And like
Yes, I agree.
with
Time
more
freedom is
freedom
everything
comes
too.
more choice.
Yeah.
With more choice comes less dependency on shit that you can't control.
Yeah.
So you can be more happy.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. All right, let's get into some of the questions. There was a few, but I'm only going to pick some of the good ones that I thought would be all right to chat about. So someone said, I'm not very good at talking in front of the camera, and this is why I don't post often. Do you think I'm losing clients because of this?
Short answer, yes. Long answer is easy fix. Don't focus on creating content, start documenting content. So there are, I'm assuming a coach or PT.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So there is so many opportunity when it comes to a week-to-week experience that you give your clients that is contentable, right? For example, you look at check-ins, industry standard, you're doing Loom check-ins most of the time, right? You're already talking to a camera, doing the thing that people pay you to do. Why don't you set up a camera, 45-degree angle off you, and now when you speak to the camera to do the looms where it's going, hey, I can see you've been a little bit off the ball this week. You've been a little bit inaccurate. Let's focus on consistency. Let's focus on all these things, all the things you educate your clients on that they pay you for. Film that.
Yeah, I agree. But do you feel like, and I do believe to a certain extent, social media is going to be king.
Huge.
Yeah.
Like that's what I said. That's what I mean. Like if you're not posting, you will lose clients. You'll get left behind.
Yeah.
And this is where like I'll say it as it is, that half the industry is focusing on like this really top of funnel content where it's like purely focusing on like, I'll give a hyper example of like the dances or the attention grabbing stuff where it's like just words on screen.
Yeah.
At some point you lose relevance because if you can't show that you have a voice, right, you can't get people to relate with who you are and what you do. And if we look at fitness as a whole, whether it be male or female, if you look at a gen pop, normal person, there is an assumption that the person that is more fit, more jacked, more lean, all of these things is egotistical and potentially mean.
Yeah.
And if you can't get your personality across to be like, I'm not that it person that has it easy, that has it, that I'm lean, I'm more, superior than everyone. Because that's like, if you speak to your market that is gen pop, what's your thoughts on this person, this influencer that has the perfect body, that has a smaller waist than you and bigger glutes? What's your theory of them as a person? There is, unfortunately, people make judgments every day.
Yeah.
And until you can disprove that judgment, it's gonna be very hard for you to like relate. And often that's one of the biggest things that people say to whether it be the bodybuilder that's like just one opens, or just the girl that's naturally fit. Those type of people are very hard to relate to for a general audience.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you can't start to give them a reason,
Relatability, guys. Yeah.
yeah. So like you have to produce content that shows relatability. Otherwise, why would people want to come work with you?
Yeah, look, you just even saying that, I like look at myself and I'm like, I fucking get it. Like the past 4 years of my life, I was a competitive bodybuilder. I was shredded 4 years in a row. This year, I obviously had some health issues. I haven't trained since January. I'm the most out of shape I've ever been. It's the best my business has ever done. But it's because my clientele now see me as someone who has been more vulnerable. I'm exactly
You're
like
human
you
now.
guys.
You're human. That's it. Like you actually have a capacity to show that you go through the same shit.
Yeah.
Like one of my best and highest converting email marketing like plays that we've ever done for the mentoring space is literally telling my story about how I went through anxiety and what my biggest anxieties were.
Yeah.
And in that email, we have a photo of me and my dog. It's like, this is Moose. He's my best friend. He's anxious too. And he's just like me. And that whole email thread is ultimately me just saying, I'm just like you. I have normal person problems, but sure, I also have a multi-7-figure company. I'm not that different though.
Yeah.
That has made me so much money in converting asset, like throughput into book to call to the sales team to then have become a client.
Yeah.
From that one email.
It's fucking, it's fucking true. I think if you can be relatable, people are going to want to work with you any day. So to be honest, going back onto that question, I think if you're not good in front of a camera and you're not good at social media, get good at it.
Yeah. There's just simple hacks. Like just look at what you do as a job, start filming those things, documenting them. It's easier to post. It's easy to use. You can then also like start to think about your business of like who is the actual superhero of the business, and it's not the fucking business owner, it's the client. So start posting more client content.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're in WhatsApp with your clients and they're sending you form videos, like take those form videos and just do a voiceover of like, here's my client doing a squat. We fixed up these things this week. Here's some things you need to focus on. You don't have to be direct to camera.
Yeah.
You can build the skill set by documenting, and then you have the skill set that you can actually flex in front of camera.
Yes, I agree with that. All right, we already went over, obviously, cold reach. And then someone working, it's just the industry is saturated. Where was the other one?
Not a bad thing.
Yeah, well, I know. I get that question all the time. Like, what are your thoughts on the industry being saturated? I'm like, I really don't care.
Not a bad thing. It's saturated at the bottom.
Yeah. There's always
top
there's
2%.
Gonna be, because you know what? It's like you got into doing your Cert 3-4 because it was like, well, you didn't finish school, so you did uni, so you did your Cert 3-4. That's what a lot of people are doing.
The bar has also just never been so low.
Yeah.
Like you can make a lot of money in this industry. Like a 6-figure business, if you do like average industry value of like an online coach is $85 a week. You need something like, what is it? 16, 20, 21 clients, something like that. Like to make 6 figures.
Yeah, right. Okay.
It's not like if you're charging $85 a week, whatever
That's
the math
not
works
that
out to
hard.
be, 22
Yeah.
clients, right? You need 22 people to make 100 grand. And when you look at the contact time in an online world, that's maybe 3 hours of work a week. Maybe, right? If you've got good systems. If you've got
True.
shit systems, 10 hours. Tell me a job that you can do 10 hours a week and get paid 100 grand.
Yeah.
Like the bar is, it is so easy to succeed, and so many people just aren't willing to do the hard shit. Well, it's not even hard shit, the normal shit.
Yeah, but it's comparison as well. Like, because on social media, people are sort of only highlighting their highlight reels. They're making it look like other people are a lot more successful than what you are.
Yeah, but even when you look at this, like if you just look at basic necessities, like if you make 6 figures as a coach, you make 100 grand, that's a lot of money. Like it's
Be
just
smart with it though.
Yeah, of course. Like just as a solopreneur though, just as you, your expenses as an online coach are probably going to be maybe $5,000 a year. Like you're going to pay an app, you're going to pay some systems, but like your profit margins will never be higher.
Yeah.
The profit margin of a single person business is huge.
Yeah.
They would profit more than as a percentage, they would profit more than I would.
True.
Right? Like we run it at like a 35 to 40% profit margin. Like if you're a solopreneur, if you're just doing it on your own, your profit margin should be north of 80%.
Yeah, true.
That's a lot for you to live on.
Yeah. All right. So basic question, if someone's coming into the industry and they've got to get the basic like apps, systems behind them and apps, I think you posted something about this the other day actually. What is like the app you would use for finance, for coaching and for communication?
For coaching, I would use OneFit. It's a newer app coming out of the UK. Really good guys. It's all self-run. So they have all of the tech in-house and all of the tech team is in-house. All of the developers are in-house, which means they're super responsive and like their care factor is super high.
So that's where you can give people like meal plans,
training plans.
Yep.
They have actually lent into the fact that most coaches use WhatsApp, so they haven't even bothered to build an internal message system because WhatsApp just does what you need to. So I would say a combination for the coaching, OneFit, WhatsApp.
WhatsApp for communication.
Yeah. And then as far as what was the other one? Finance. Zero. But I would also say just get a bookkeeper. Like even if you're, just passing the 6-figure mark, like having someone else just run your books.
Do you have things, do you use Nui?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use Nui for my mentoring. We don't use Nui for the coaching stuff purely because like if I'm honest, we would, but purely because we have near on 400 people that we need to transfer over.
Yeah, it was already built up before.
It's just too much risk factor of reminding people of what they pay to then put them onto a new system, and the loss that we could incur on that is not worth the change.
Yeah, okay, cool. I think Nui is pretty good too.
Yeah,
You're
Nui
a
is
coach
great
getting
for
into
finance.
industry. Yeah, definitely get into that. Last one we'll get into is just I am completely new to the industry. Where would I start? So I guess that's a very broad question. So let me ask it in the sense that if you could go back in time and speak to the younger you, what is a piece of advice you would give yourself?
Younger me, I would say do everything the same. So I'm probably a bit of a different situation.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten to a place where I'm very, very happy in life. But for a coach starting today, I would say give the best opportunity for yourself to succeed and get in front of as many people as possible. I would do something super, super easy entry. So reduce all the barriers. So that would mean reduce the price, over deliver on the value, and over deliver on the access. So I would do something like a 45-day challenge. Now, there will be people that say this is weird to hear me say, because I've been so anti-challenge my entire coaching career. As a brand,
I have been as well until now.
yeah, as a brand, Lionstone was very and is still anti-challenges in like we don't do challenges, right?
Yeah.
Business me says we should,
Yeah.
right? But we just have so much brand equity in that road that we can't really go against it now.
Yeah.
But best opportunity for success would be doing some sort of short-term challenge, something around that 6-week mark.
Yep.
It's not a big commitment. It's big enough where you can facilitate some change. And people's short-termism is going to be somewhat stimulated over that time.
Yeah.
And I would do it for free, and I would get it in front of as many people as I could. Or if you're someone that's got at least a decent following, like talking above 2,000 followers, I would do a giveaway that's for 12 months of coaching. But most giveaways never make any money, so I'll just give you a little hack. Most people use giveaways to drive social following and status. I measure business in the bank account, and if it doesn't make the business money, it's not worth doing. So I would leverage a giveaway that drives cash into the account. For example, something like Hyper Tantalizing, where you go 12 months for free as the first prize. Second prize is some sort of voucher towards your service, and everyone wins second prize. You just have to figure out a way to get their data, which is pretty easy when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you do in the industry, creating your business, it's going to be trial and error, guys. Like one thing doesn't work for everyone.
No.
Learn what works for you, and like don't be afraid to fail as well, I think
the one thing that does work for everyone is just offering a shit ton of value for free.
Yeah.
Like that's tried, tested. Like if you are just entering, get every person
People
you
love
know.
free shit.
Yeah, like call every person you've ever met in your life. Like that person that you ran into at Rats on a Friday night, or like call them and go, hey, I've got a thing for free.
Yeah.
Like you'll get better at sales for one. Call someone that you spoke to in high school.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got this thing for free.
And just be bloody consistent. Like back yourself too. There's so much like, I don't know, people getting into the industry being like, I feel like I shouldn't be here because there's people in bigger boots than me. It's like imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Well, imposter syndrome is an interesting one. Often it's just keep your honor syndrome. Like maybe you're just not that good. Like that's okay too. Like it's okay. It just means like that's a good thing in my book.
Yeah.
You have a thing to fix. Like if you're playing in an arena that you have no business playing in, like you should feel like an imposter. Like if you are coaching someone towards an IFBB stage and you've never understood the intricacies of a PED, it's like maybe you are an imposter.
Oh, you know what? I 100% agree. I've gotten like so much criticism for like saying it online, but I personally believe as well that a good contest prep coach almost needs to have done a contest prep themselves.
Oh, not almost. I agree. They have to have.
If you don't fucking understand what it takes, even just the mental resilience behind it.
The feeling of being that lean, never again.
Yeah, I think go through it yourself, put in the work, and honestly, guys, like if you are getting to a position where you feel like your business has scaled yourself and you want to step outside of that, I mean, reach out to even someone like Rhys, let the people know where they can sort of find you, how they get in contact with you.
Rhys Livingstone on Instagram, YouTube, I believe it's Rhys Livingstone or The Undeniable Show, I don't know. And yeah, I'm always down for a conversation. Conversation never costs you anything. If you need help, more than happy to go back and forth in a message and point you in the right direction. And if I feel like it can actually help you further, we can book in a quick chat. I do 10-minute conversations. We don't waste time to oversell people. My team never sells on the first call. So
Are your consultations free?
Yep.
Yeah.
10 minutes first. The first consultation is a 10-minute just quality check. Like, can I help you? Do you have problems I can fix? And like, are you someone that I will like? And if not to all of those, you'll at least walk away from that consultation with a 3-step plan of like, here's the biggest bottleneck in your business. Here's what we suggest you go to fix it. And here's when you can come back and we can talk again.
Yeah. So guys, no beating around the bush, like can either get help or not.
Yeah. We've also got an event coming up November 9th. It's actually not officially announced, but here we are. It's called the Service Business Summit. I've got a hideout, a facility in South Melbourne. I'll leave a link with Tabby.
Yeah.
I'll give you a discount code as well and get access to tickets if you want to come.
I can put the link in like the notes for this podcast so people can click on it. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to this episode and thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, guys, follow him on Instagram. You can reach out if you do need any help in that regard. But this was episode 6 of Tabby Talks, where we chat all things fitness, business, lifestyle, and a little bit of shit.